Welcome back to the Race Strategy Society. Well, it is 2026. It is the start of a brand new Formula One season. The rules have officially changed. And so the race to understand them has begun. And whoever understands them first and can optimize them first is likely to be the one that ends up on top. Because the 2026 Formula One season isn't just another year. It's one of the biggest technical resets the sport has seen in a long old time. New power units, active aerodynamics, and a completely different way of managing energy during a lap. And if you can understand those systems better than your competitor, suddenly the strategy decisions you see on Sunday start to make a lot more sense. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the 3 biggest changes in F1 2026. And by the end of it, you'll understand what the teams are actually trying to figure out when the lights go out here in Melbourne, where the lights have gone out in Melbourne right behind me. Part 1, the energy game has completely changed. Let's start with the biggest shift. The previous generation of Formula One cars, electrical deployment was often focused on specific straights. In 2026, the electrical system is managed across the entire lap. A really good way to think about it is like managing your phone battery during a long day. You're not just worried about the next 5 minutes of power, you're thinking about how much charge you have left for the rest of the day. And the same thing now applies to Formula One. The electric motor can produce up to 350 kilowatts of power, which is almost as much as the internal combustion engine itself. But the key detail is how is that energy used? Cars might deploy electrical power at the start of the straight, then gradually reduce it, something engineers call derating, and finishing the straight using just the engine. That doesn't mean that the battery is necessarily empty. It just means that it could be the fastest way to manage energy across the entire lap. Same with lifting in places where drivers would typically want to go flat out to maximize lap time. So strategy as of right now, where these cars are pretty power hungry and battery hungry, becomes less about one straight and more about how you manage energy across the whole circuit. Now, part 2 of what you need to understand, why braking alone isn't enough to charge the power unit. Well, another big misconception about the new cars is the braking will recharge the battery. Well, it won't do enough. Under the 2026 regulations, braking regen alone isn't enough to recharge everything that the teams need on any of each lap. They're energy hungry. Drivers will also recharge energy in other ways. Lifting earlier before corners, running partial throttle, and something called super clipping, where the system recovers energy at the end of the straight. Which is why I like to think about it like a credit card. I mean, I do like credit cards. You're not making one big payment at the end of the month. You're constantly balancing spending and repaying. Deploy energy, recharge energy, deploy again, credit card. And the teams who manage the balance best will probably be the ones that unlock the biggest performance gains. Now, part 3, you need to know. Boost versus overtake. Now, you're going to hear these 2 new terms on the broadcast this year in the paddock. Everyone in F1 is going to be talking about it. Boost and overtake. They sound similar, but they're actually really different tools. Boost, simple. It's a driver-controlled burst of maximum electrical power that can be used for attack or defense whenever the driver wants. But still, think credit card. You spend it all in one place. You have to pay it off, repay it before you can pay it again. Now, overtake works differently. It's granted when a car crosses the detection point, which is at a certain point on each track, within 1 second of the car ahead. And it lasts for the entire following lap. Okay, so instead of just giving more power, it changes the deployment profile and allows extra regen. And the really interesting part is that boost and overtake, they can be used in together, which is where the biggest overtaking opportunities appear. Now, how is this all going to pan out? The reality is every single Formula One team, all 11 of them, are looking at 11 different situations of 11 different simulations. And the reality is no one knows exactly how this push-pull, dog and cat mouse game is going to look like. But we know it's going to be a case of whoever gets on top of it first, or whoever's found a way of optimization or attacking or defending is going to be the one that has the edge. Now, Another thing you need to know is about active aero. Now, active aero replaces DRS. The second big change is aerodynamics. For years, we've had DRS, the drag reduction system, a wing that opens to give a follower an advantage when they're within 1 second at certain points on a track. In 2026, that's replaced by something much more sophisticated. The cars now run in 2 aerodynamic configurations. First, corner mode, higher downforce, maximum grip through the corners, and then straight mode, low drag, designed to increase speed on the straights. The front and the rear wings move together, which can transition between the 2 modes in about 0.4 of a second. In fact, that's actually a regulation. Just like the DRS before it, those modes are used in specific zones around the circuit. Some tracks gain an additional zone compared to the old system, but others, like Monaco, for example, have none at all. Now, what are these cars going to feel like? That's kind of part 3 of the whole thing. Well, with slightly smaller tyres and reduced overall downforce, these cars will be a bit more grip limited in high-speed corners. The cars themselves are lighter and thinner, and drivers will be spending longer at partial throttle and reach full throttle slightly later on exit. But they're still Formula One cars, and it is still Formula One racing, just with an even bigger strategic layer around energy management and aerodynamic efficiency. So when the lights go out this season, teams won't just be managing tyres, fuel, and the start, which, by the way, depending on the size of your turbo, could be better or worse. We've got battery change, energy recovery, boost usage, overtake grants, and active aero zones all at the same time. And the team that understands those systems fastest will have the biggest advantage in this early new era of Formula One. Now, if you want to deep dive into the strategy side of Formula One, the newsletter is out now, and I will be back later this race weekend with a Melbourne briefing for you guys. Stay safe, enjoy the race weekend, and welcome to 2026.